Welcome to the Late Night Race Review. Frustration for Lando as he slips out of the box. The Middle East finally comes into the year 2000 as the Y2K bug hits the race. Yuki gives Sainz his hole and sends him to the showers. And Russell goes audaciously soft when it counts. It's the Bahrain GP. Don't forget to support the podcast by hitting those like, follow and subscribe buttons.
Welcome on into the Late Night Race Review. My name is Aidan Scott, and joining me today from last week is my brother Damien Scott and Isidro Gonzalez. How guys? How are you getting on? How are you doing?
Really good. It was an excellent weekend, I have to say. Compared to the snooze fest that was Suzuka.
That's it. It definitely was a good one. And Damien, how are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, enjoyed that race and that race weekend. Definitely an upgrade from the previous one. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Because, folks, we are back this weekend for the Bahrain Grand Prix. It was definitely an interesting one. But before we get into the qualifying and before we get into the main race and all the action that happened over the weekend, first of all, we do need to make a special mention to our own Alex Dunn from Ireland, who came in first there in the F2 Bahrain race. So definitely a special mention to Alex Dunn there this weekend. Definitely doing Ireland proud, and hopefully someday, and of course someday, we'll see him in F1, but definitely doing Ireland proud there for sure. And definitely looking forward to the future with Alex. So yeah, folks, we're here this weekend. Obviously, as the guys mentioned last weekend when it came to Japan, it was definitely not the most exciting, but this weekend definitely brought some good action for sure. But folks, run me through quali. How did quali go? What stuck out for you? What was the main thing, and who were the winners and who were the losers?
For me, the main loser in qualification was Albon.
Yeah.
FIA was too late to disqualify Hülkenberg, and Albon could have a chance to get high on the grid, and maybe today he could finish on points rather than finish on the P13. For me, that's what highlight even low of the qualification.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw the statement that they had after the qualification, and it sounded a little bit weak and a little bit corporate. It was, I think they said, "Oh yeah, this turn 11, I think it isn't really monitored that much by the stewards, and we didn't notice it until the next round. We got it wrong on this occasion." And they said, "Oh, we're building towards increased resources and improved systems and processes." And yeah, I don't think any driver is going to really respond too well to that, right? So they admitted to getting it wrong, but yeah, that's a big one for Williams to miss out on that qualification.
That's for sure. You know, you can make all the excuses in the world, but regardless, it's wherever you finish on that board. That's the final thing. But of course, when it comes to Albon and that Hülkenberg incident, we can sit here and say all day like, oh yeah, maybe he should have gotten into Q2 and he could have had a chance. But once the flag is drawn, that's it. And if you don't make it, that's it, done. But of course, in Q1 we had Lawson out again, but of course that was due to a DRS issue. And as much as I want to give him credit for that, unfortunately, I won't be doing that. Of course, Albon was out, Stroll was out, and Stroll, it was kind of to be expected, not just because of himself, but because of Aston Martin this weekend. They were having a terrible weekend when it came to quali, and of course when it came to the overall race. But we will get into that very shortly. And then of course Behrman not getting in there to Q2, which was very surprising because Behrman, he has had a very strong couple of weekends there, like China, he was very strong. In Japan, he was very strong. And of course, look, in Australia, he did have, it was a little bit tough for him. But this weekend for Behrman, yes, definitely proven strong. Run me through that, guys. What do you think of Haas's overall performance? And of course, the moments that brought Q2 to a close, or well, pretty much stopped Q2 at that moment with the Ocon crash. Run me through Haas's performance this weekend.
Haas, they had a great weekend. I mean, that Q2 crash with Ocon apparently didn't affect him at all because he managed to finish P8, and even better, Behrman that start on P20 finished on P10, and the upgrades that has brought in Japan, and today it's definitely working out. Seeing Haas finishing on points, it's definitely a good sign for them.
Yeah, they started, what was it, 14th and 20th, and both cars in the points. That's incredible for that outfit. Like when I saw that crash, the Ocon incident, I was like, they're going to be doing well to get that ready for the race, you know. So they did great work in the garage, and I think at the moment, really, Haas are looking like the best of the rest. You know, I think they're fifth after this race, and
Yeah, correct.
the other teams just not really firing. They maybe have one driver that's looking good or getting them a few points here and there. Aston Martin, I think, looking terrible. They're not really getting anything. I think Stroll maybe got them 10 points from a bit of a fluke, and it was the first race. But other than that, I don't think he's looking like scoring, and Alonso seems to be off the boil. So, yeah, fair play to Haas. Their two drivers are really performing well, and they're getting points on the board. And if they keep on chipping away like that, they can maintain that fifth place. We probably don't see them going much higher than that, but yeah, they're doing really well.
You know, I don't mean this to sound how it does or how it is going to sound, but it is weird to see a team like Haas, like you just even mentioned there, you know, in fifth place at the moment in the constructors. And I know obviously, look, it's still early days and there's still a lot of races left in the rest of the season. And of course, as upgrades come in and as things change and develop throughout the season, what we see right now in the standings, that could all change by the final race. But yeah, look, when it comes to Haas, it is great to see that outfit there sitting at P5, which is just weird to say. And then you look at the likes of Aston Martin, who are right now in P7. I mean, that is such a change when you kind of look at the last sort of couple of seasons and things like that. But yeah, definitely, you know, as Idril just mentioned there, the fact that Behrman qualifying there at the back of the grid and coming all the way up there to finish P10. Like, I mean, again, these rookies just proven time and time again each weekend that they're basically the bee's knees. They are doing exactly what they came here to do, which is to try and prove themselves, to get points, and to prove that they're the next best thing. Which brings me on to Mercedes in qualifying, guys. How do you think that went? Kimi and Russell as well, definitely having some good qualifying sessions there.
Mercedes on qualifying was very, very good. Mercedes today, not so good. I mean, the issues that Russell faced, the problem. Antonelli, not so many issues. It was more mistakes and the penalties for go over the track limits, for instance, and the safety car. Russell had more issues on the car and still managed to finish P2. For me, that proves that Mercedes, while still has some long way to go if they want to get the championship, but from a driver perspective, I think they have very good two drivers. Russell on the qualification and Antonelli. I mean, they got the P3 and P5 after the penalty, but even that today, it just proved that they deserve to be there right on top. I mean, Russell finished P2, Antonelli wasn't lucky, but so far Antonelli was, from the rookies, he was definitely the best from all rookies.
Yeah, definitely have to agree there. I think Russell, he had a lot of, I don't know, seemed like IT glitches in his car. I think he said the gear selection wasn't working at one point. His screen on his steering wheel went blank. His DRS button, I think he wasn't getting the notifications when he was getting into the DRS zone. So he kind of put it on too early, I think, and there was talk of he was going to get a penalty afterwards, but that didn't seem to transpire, thankfully for him. So yeah, the car was glitching big time, and he still got it home into second place, which is fantastic. You know, he was driving a little bit blind there for a while. And I think Antonelli was a little bit unlucky. I think it was the pit strategy kind of screwed him up a little bit. I think that last pit, he got out into a little bit of traffic and he was kind of way down the field. So yeah, I think maybe the pit crew or the wall there, they called him in maybe when they shouldn't have. But yeah, other than that, he had a really great race, and what did he finish 11th, I think, overall as well. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, finishing up 11th, which was a little bit disappointing to see, because I know obviously Kimi, he had a lot of potential there, and he had a lot of great battles as well in the race. But of course, look, we'll dissect the race as we go on anyway. But moving on, guys, Red Bull and Racing Bulls, they seem to just have one of the worst weekends when it comes to just car performance. Pit lane issues, tech issues, the whole lot. It just looks like, Bahrain is definitely a weekend that for both Red Bull, Oracle Red Bull Racing, and Racing Bulls just want to completely forget. Like, I mean, even when you look at the likes of quali, like Tsunoda, it was great to see Tsunoda obviously getting into Q2 and, getting out of that Q3. And then for a while there, it was very touch and go, even when it came to Max, having to abort a couple of laps. But guys, run me through, we'll cover both Oracle Red Bull Racing and Racing Bulls when it comes to the quali. How do you think they did? Run me through it. And again, look, one of the things I think we definitely need to touch on is what is happening with the Red Bull performance. What is going on?
I think Verstappen he was complaining a lot about poor braking performance, seemed to be struggling with the brakes. And I don't know what it was this weekend. They just really couldn't get those tires to work properly. I think that really got to them during qualifying and also the race. I think Max had a couple of laps where he aborted. He just wasn't kind of happy with the setup. And yeah, I think he said after the race, it just wasn't going their way this weekend. A lot of things went wrong. So yeah, it was kind of disaster after disaster from quali right through to the race. And we'll talk later about the issues that they had in the race. But yeah, tires didn't work out for them, braking issues. So I think these kind of little gremlins that they've been experiencing are just continuing through the first 3-4 races. They're not tidying them up. They're not really getting to the root of the issue here. So yeah, I think that bad performance is going to continue for a little while.
That's it. The gremlins are multiplying. Ezekiel, what's your opinions on Red Bull at the moment? What is going on there?
I think Suzuka victory was a fluke. It doesn't show the true Red Bull. True Red Bull is what we see now. Max is trailing every single race. He's been complaining the whole weekend about the car, and he was lucky in qualification. I managed to get Q3 and get P7, but overall the weekend was not what Red Bull was expecting. And the fact that Verstappen was saying that he's not fighting for the championship, he's just participating on it, it says a lot of the spirit and how he sees how the car is doing. But on the other side, we have to see Tsunoda, that is his second race on the Red Bull seat. And it's what I think I was reading since Miami 2024 that the second Red Bull seat was not scoring points. So the fact that this weekend Tsunoda managed to have a good qualification to get to Q3 and get points today, I think it's a good thing for Tsunoda. I think he's only the second drive and he's already making points. So definitely a driver that deserves to be there at least for a little while. For the what are the name? The Racing Bulls.
The Racing Bulls, yeah.
Yeah, I think Adjar drives better when his balls was getting squeezed because this weekend clearly the man was free of getting squeezed, and look what happened. He got P12 and P13. So I think they need to squeeze the balls for Saudi Arabia. And Lawson, he was very unlucky. I mean, the issues in qualification that got him the P17, and the race, he was all over the place. A lot of penalties, thinking that he was driving a Red Bull or something, but no.
Yeah.
He got P17 again. He definitely needs to take a step back and realize you are in the Racing Bulls. You just, this is the second race in the Racing Bulls. You were dropped from Red Bull.
Yeah.
And he needs to take a moment to reflect, because he's a better driver than he's been showing this year. He did better drive last year when he was not a full-time driver than he is doing this year.
Yeah, No, for sure, for sure. And I'd say with Tsunoda, I'd say going into this weekend, he was definitely that, you know, that meme from Airplane, or that scene from Airplane where the guy is like sweating buckets while he's there trying to fly the aircraft. That was Tsunoda going into Bahrain this weekend, because I'm sure, you know, there was a lot of people and, you know, obviously a lot of fans who are probably just, you know, they had their eyes on Tsunoda this weekend to see, okay, well, look, this is technically his second race with Red Bull Racing. You know, you look at the likes of Liam Lawson, he only had a couple of races, and by the second race, you know, he was very much under the microscope. So I'm sure Tsunoda definitely went into this weekend feeling the exact same way. But of course, you know, to be able to get that car into the final qualifying session and to be able to go through all of that with the issues that they were experiencing. And of course, like we'll touch on the race in a few moments, but to be able to come out there with a very positive like performance for himself and a very positive result just for him, you know, like that's you know, you kind of look back at Red Bull's decision making, like putting Liam Lawson in there in the first place, and you're touching on there the fact that like the second seat there in Red Bull hasn't scored any points since Miami, since last year, almost a year since they've actually gotten proper points. I mean, like this is the issue, you know, like they went through that whole season with Perez. Again, we thought we could get away with a season with not saying Perez's name, but again, he pops up. But, you know, putting in the likes of Liam Lawson there, and then eventually when it comes to Yuki Tsunoda, finally being able to score points. Now, hopefully, going into next weekend, when, you know, Jeddah comes around, hopefully he'll still be able to keep that going. And I think definitely that will really prove for the likes of the team that like, of course, already he does deserve to be there, but I think it will definitely show when it comes to Red Bull's decision making that this is the driver that they should have been going with for the whole time. But of course, they have to work through their issues when it comes to the car. But moving on from Red Bull, one of the dark horses for this weekend, I know that's Damien's favorite phrase to use when it comes to the dark horse, Alpine, Pierre Gasly. Qualifying what was it? He got into P3 in Q2 and then eventually P5 in Q3. I mean, that insane pace from Pierre Gasly. Now, Jack Doohan is another story. Obviously, we'll talk about him in a few moments. But Pierre Gasly, guys, run me through it. What happened there? What gave him that extra boost of confidence there to get that car, but pretty much everyone called last year, that tractor, onto, you know, pretty much the front row? What happened?
Yeah, I think he had his Weetabix this morning when he woke up. There was there was something going on with that car, maybe, but yeah, the qualifying lap he did was fantastic. He was, I think, what, 0.4 seconds off pole or something like that. I know that's a lot in qualifying, but he was there or thereabouts, and he was very close to getting higher than he was. And I think he gained from the Mercedes penalty, so he started P4 instead of P5. So and then in the race, yeah, he went really well. You know, he was going around, and I think, where did he finish up? I think he finished up in top 10 anyway. He was seventh or something, and yeah, he was just there all day, and he was doing well. I think they got their strategy right for the race too. So yeah, fair play to them. I think Doohan as well. He did quite well overall. He just a little bit unlucky here and there. There was rumors or talk last week that, you know, they might be thinking about replacing him at this stage, which I think is probably a bit too early to even think about that. You know, you got to give these rookies at least half a season so you can see if they can kind of hack it or not. So yeah, Alpine's be on the up a little bit, but yeah, let's see next race what happens. But yeah, good weekend for them.
I think that's definitely not the opinion at Red Bull Racing. It's 2 races and you're out. It's not even 3 strikes. It's 2 strikes and you're out. Isidro, what are your thoughts on Alpine this weekend, especially for quali? And then again, we'll go into the race in a few moments.
I think the qualification was a surprise, especially for Gasly. He definitely was not expecting to finish not only away from Verstappen, but also on top of Norris. Those are 2 drivers that last year they finished 1-2 in the championship, and Gasly this weekend just managed to get the P4 on qualification, which is great considering he was driving an Alpine, and Alpine this year hasn't been shown. So it was very good to see Gasly doing great this weekend. Duan was not too bad. I mean, P11 for a rookie in his in his fourth race, and driving Alpine getting P11, and considering that he had a serious crash in Japan last week, and it seems that he's not fully recovered yet, at least considering how he was at the end of Suzuka. That he had to have help to get out of the car, and just 1 week later driving again, and qualification P11. Yeah, I think it was a good qualification for Alpine.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a good turnaround from last weekend. And you just mentioned there about Doohan's crash. I think definitely if it was me in the car, I don't think they'd be able to pull me out, because my entire racing suit would just be covered in crap because of like the sheer speed, like just even watching that footage, going back there. Like, I know obviously the mistake was he had the DRS flap open, but just like as soon as he went into that corner, that car just went and he just kept on spinning. I mean, at that stage, I just would have been here. Like, I just quickly would have like gone onto my phone if I had the time. Like, all right, okay, I have the wheel updated. That's it. Okay, I'm gonna die.
That was lovely, yeah.
but definitely a brown pants moment when it comes to that incident. But of course, yes, he was able to turn that around. And the one thing I sort of want to touch on as well, I think a lot of people, and especially us as fans, when we're looking at that, like, we can obviously sort of like criticize like certain moments and certain races, but then you kind of have to think about the extreme pressure and the situations that these guys get into, like especially with an incident like that, and then be able to come back the following weekend, only taking a week to try and recover from something like that, and then to come back and then try to turn that around. And I'm not going to lie, he had a lot of great moments in today's race as well. And then obviously, look, in qualifying, he had his result in qualifying, but to be able to come back and to be able to do that, hats off to the guy. I know he's a rookie, he's still learning, and I know I've seen reports that he's been spending a lot of time in the racing sim to try and get up to speed. But maybe at the same time too, is he spending too much time in that? Is he spending too much time researching into things, and should he just maybe get himself into just more real life situations to improve there? Obviously, that's going to develop over the season and over time. I would really like to see Jack Doohan obviously improve, but I'd like to see him still stay there at Alpine for another few races anyway, to see how he develops. But obviously still early days. But of course, at Oracle Red Bull Racing, that's a different story. 2 strikes and you're out. But moving on from Alpine, we have Williams. So looking at Sainz and Albon, guys, run me through it real quick. And then of course, we'll quickly touch on Ferrari and McLaren before we hop into the main race. And then whoever wants
Williams,
yeah.
They had, like we said before, not a good weekend. That problem that Hulkenberg got his lap deleted when Albon was already took his shower, was already on his pajamas, and then suddenly realized that, oh, I probably could make it to Q2 or maybe Q3.
Yeah.
Because so far Albon has been, if I'm not mistaken, in all the Q3s. So that was unfortunate for Williams. Sainz, he also did great. He got a P8 on qualification. So all was pointing for Williams to have a great weekend. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely agree in that. Yeah, like as you said, Sainz got in P8 for the qualifying, and yeah, Albon looked like he was going to get thereabouts, but yeah, he didn't really get the rub of the green on that incident with the stewards, and not seeing the issue with Hulkenberg until too late. So, yeah, not a good day for Albon in the qualifying. But yeah, I think Williams are looking good. I think with Haas and Williams, they're kind of in around the same kind of number of points now, and yeah, there'll be a little bit of a battle, I think, with those two for the best of the rest. With, I think, Haas at the moment looking a little bit stronger of the two, but yeah, definitely two really good driver pairings in those teams.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And looking at the likes of Ferrari and McLaren, just to wrap up that qualifying session, obviously Ferrari, it came to Leclerc in P3 and then Hamilton in P9. Now, this was the weekend. Ferrari came into it pretty much saying that they've brought all these upgrades to the car, hoping for a better result. Now, obviously, yeah, they had some good results and they had some good pace and things like that. But real quick, guys, run me through the likes of Hamilton and Leclerc's performance there during quali. Isidro, take me away.
Leclerc performance in qualification was great. I think it was the first time this year that I've seen Leclerc driving and pushing that Ferrari and actually responding very well. And the fact that he managed to get P2, it says that the upgrades probably worked. And about Hamilton, he just was unlucky. I mean, he got P9. That's still something. But overall, I think Ferrari this weekend was definitely on point.
Yeah, no, they went well. I think in the qualifying, if we take a look at McLaren and Ferrari as a duo, I think you had two drivers who were very confident and two who were not so confident. The kind of statements from Norris and Hamilton from the qualifying were, oh, I'm just so slow this weekend. I've been off it. The car is amazing, but I'm letting the team down. If you look at their quotes, they were pretty much exactly the same for the two drivers. So those two guys seem to be a little bit down on themselves from the qualifying session. And then you had Piastri and Leclerc who were like, yeah, car's great and going well. So I think there's a little bit of the different mentality between those two different types of personalities in the team. They're two very kind of similar personalities between Leclerc and Piastri and Norris and Hamilton. So yeah, it's an interesting match to see how they approach it, and if something goes wrong, how they do handle that. So yeah, I think Leclerc was saying that he was his setup for the car in the past few weeks has been a little bit tricky to handle, but it's got him more pace, so he's kind of happy to go with that direction of the car. But yeah, it's very, very interesting battle in those two teams.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And obviously we heard the quote from Zach Brown. He did mention that we are entering the era of Lando Norris as the champion. But this weekend, Lando Norris, he definitely wasn't a happy bunny after that qualifying session. But going into the main race, folks, that was definitely an exciting first couple of laps. When you look at the start from Norris, obviously, if you've seen the race, we can all see that there was that issue at the beginning there with that jump start, which did give him that 5-second penalty. But of course, when you don't notice those things, when the race starts off, you're immediately thinking to yourself, oh my God, that was an amazing start from Lando Norris. Look at him gaining all these places. But, as the race sort of developed on and people were coming in and there was pit stops and tire changes and all that kind of stuff, that's when all the fun began. So guys, walk me through it. Isidro, I'll bring you in first. Give me your main take points from the race today. What stood out to you the most?
Oscar did a superb race today. He went from pole and finished the race without any issues, without any stress. He had a huge gap. Safety car came on. Safety car went off. He built another gap. He just had the perfect weekend. And Norris, that was looking defeated on qualification. Lando was talking like he was a Ferrari driver for the past 3 or 4 years. But he managed to get over that and finished P3 and fighting for P2 with Russell driving a car that was probably flashing all sorts of lights that I'm not going anywhere. I was expecting to see a wheel dropping off from that Mercedes at some point, the amount of issues that he had. But the McLaren truly deserved the weekend that they had today, especially Piastri finishing first.
Yeah, absolutely. Piastri had a great start. He, as you said, the whole way through the race, he just looked in command. He was never under too much pressure. And, if anybody did come at him, he kind of handled it very well. But yeah, I think Norris and Russell had a really good start, both of them kind of really aggressive into that first corner, and they gained a few places each. So yeah, it was a really good start for Mercedes and the McLaren teams into those first few laps. But yeah, it was great to see that aggressiveness from Russell in particular going into that first corner. He he just didn't stop. He was like, this is my corner, and I'm taking it, you know. So yeah, he got that second place, and he kind of deserved it from the actions that he took.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very strong one from George Russell, and especially with all those issues that he was having with the car. At one stage, he was having issues at the very end there with the brakes, and then he was saying that he was having DRS issues, which I think it has been confirmed that they're not taking any further action with that. Like there's no grid penalty, or there's no penalty yet to be served with that. So that's it's good to see, because he did kind of justify what did happen, and obviously they've obviously investigated that, see that he didn't gain from it, which is good. And obviously, you know, when your car is sort of falling apart and you still manage to come P2, that does say a lot. But definitely a good point to touch on there with the likes of Piastri, just from start to finish there. Isidro, you're 100% correct. He controlled the entire race from start to finish. You know, he's definitely, and personally, even looking at this over the last couple of weekends, like I know Piastri, like he did miss out on a few spots before, like obviously in China. I know in the sprint race and things like that, he struggled with that, but then he came back with the main race. And then obviously in Japan, look, I know he would have loved to have been able to get that P1 victory as well. But you know, guys, do you actually think at this stage, when you kind of look at Lando Norris compared to Oscar Piastri, and this is probably a question that I'm going to ask a million times over the course of this season, and I know a lot of people are probably asking the same question themselves. Is this the point where, I know obviously when you look at the constructors, yes, you have Lando Norris, who is now at the top of the table. Piastri is now in second. But is this the time now where McLaren like seriously sit down and sort of say to themselves, right, do we put all of our eggs into the Piastri basket? Should they do that? And what are your thoughts on that, guys?
I think Zach Brown needs to sit down with Toto Wolff and listen what Toto has to say, because Toto has been there for the fights between Hamilton and Rosberg, for instance, and he knows that when you don't decide who's the number one pilot and who's the second driver, you are bound to start losing points. And today was not that, but going forward, what will happen is McLaren still get the points for the Constructors' Championship, but drivers will start losing the points. I mean, today Norris only got 12, but Piastri got 25. Next weekend, we might see Piastri again getting 25, and we don't know if Norris will be able to get that. So, does Zach Brown is interesting in winning the Drivers' Championship or the Constructors? Because they definitely need to decide. And if I had to decide, I would go with Piastri. Piastri seems more calm rather than Lando. Lando is a good driver, but I think he's still not 100% sure of himself that he deserves to be a champion. While Piastri, he doesn't talk much, but what he shows on track, he definitely has what it takes.
Yeah, very true. And Damien, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that. Yeah, it's again, it comes down to the two types of personality, you know, like Lando does have that more kind of emotional reaction to certain situations. Sometimes that can be a good thing, other times not. So, where you have Piastri, who's just this kind of cool, calculated, you know, nothing seems to phase him too much. So on the outside, you can't really see if something phases him, but you never know what's going on inside his head. But yeah, I think McLaren really have to pick a horse at some stage. I think they probably let them battle it out for, I don't know, maybe half a season, and then there's going to be somebody who's clearly the one that they need to pick. And if it was at the moment, yeah, I think Piastri is looking like the better bet. But again, it's really down to what Zach Brown and the strategists there think of, or what they come up with in the next number of races, and how they pick their strategy and who lets who in front and all this kind of stuff. But I think bit by bit, the results and the points on the table will start to dictate that. But how soon that happens, I don't know. But yeah, you don't want a situation where you have two drivers taking each other out, like we had with Hamilton and I think was it Rosberg in,
Yeah,
I don't know, 2016 or 2017, whenever that was.
yeah.
So that's the extreme of it, and that's how far it can go if you don't kind of get a handle on it. So yeah, you need to manage that well.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like, look, regardless, I'm sure the papaya camp is definitely celebrating this weekend, and of course on a weekend as well. And I know it's not F1, but they did announce that McLaren will be entering the hypercar World Endurance Championship in 2027. I know Zach Brown, he was pretty proud to sit there and put that announcement out and stuff like that. So definitely a promising weekend for McLaren anyway. But of course, look, we'll see how the whole Lando and Piastri relationship sort of develops over the next couple of races. But touching real quick again on Mercedes, I know we did talk about Russell, but we do need to talk about Antonelli. I know we mentioned a few little things about what kind of happened in the race, but guys, take me through it. I know, Damien, you're the Mercedes fan, so we'll jump back to you first.
Point of clarity, I'm not the Mercedes fan. I like them, but they're not my number one team.
You're the Williams/Mercedes. I mean, there's an AMG logo on that t-shirt that I can see right there with a Mercedes badge. So
I think particular Mercedes have a little bit of a soft spot for them with the driver duo they have, and I think the decision that Toto took to put Kimi into that car as well kind of they've got a great driver pairing, and as I say, they're my dark horse for the championship. I'll use that phrase again. But yeah, I think Antonelli he did well today, but again, I think the strategy just kind of screwed him up a little bit. He was going well at times. He was up in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and I think it was the safety car came out, and whatever worked out in that particular pit stop for him, he got kind of caught up in the field, and he was somewhere near the back, I think 18th or 19th. I can't remember exactly where, but he did quite well to fight his way back up. And I think he finished P11, was it? So he wasn't too far outside the points when it came to the end. But yeah, even George Russell did really well today. It's like he had all those issues with his car. I think he had gear selection problems and the DRS button, and he something about the brakes. The brake pedal was going too long or something, he said as well. So he had 4 or 5 things going on with that car, and he managed. So yeah, it's looking like a good season for them. Antonelli in particular has been very impressive. So he has a lot of podiums in his future, that's for sure. He's got the talent, so let's see if he can actually execute it, But yeah, it's coming for him.
Yeah, definitely. Kimi is a future world champion for sure, just seeing his performance. But Isidro, your thoughts on Mercedes this weekend, especially Kimi, if you've got any additional thoughts on Russell, if you'd like to add. But what are your overall thoughts on Mercedes this weekend?
I think Mercedes, from a mechanical perspective, was not that good because of the issues that Russell had in his car. But Kimi, he had a good qualification. Then the race, he started very well, but then between strategies and safety car, he went down a bit. Still managed to finish P11, which is good. But overall, I mean, he's just 18. It's the fourth race on driving a Mercedes, and he's dealing with the pressure quite well. So I think that even though today he was outside the points, but he has what it takes to win a race and probably win the championship.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. But moving on to the close relative, as I just kind of mentioned there, because we did see that lovely Mercedes badge on Damien's Williams t-shirt. We'll quickly touch on Williams. Of course, look, Sainz, they did have that issue with Sainz. He had that issue. I think it was the incident with Tsunoda. If I'm right, there was that little sort of tap that he got, which then turned into loads of debris, which then brought out that lovely safety car around lap 32. And at that point, when I seen the safety car come out, I was waiting there for about 4 or 5 minutes going, okay, why is the safety car out here? Like, what's going on? Nobody had mentioned it. It was just everyone into the pits, everyone changes tires, and then eventually they were like, oh yeah, it's to clean up the debris from this big incident that happened with Sainz. So obviously, yeah, he had a very tough race, which then unfortunately meant that he had to DNF, which was a pity to see, because I know Sainz coming in this weekend, he did have a lot of good pace, especially when it came to qualifying, and I know he was really hoping to finish that race strong, but he did sort of start off, it was a little bit difficult for him. He dropped down a couple of places, but of course, and we'll touch on Albon very quickly as well. But guys, run me through Williams real quick.
Let the man with the jersey starts.
All right.
We'll bring the hometown hero for Williams in there.
Yeah, I think they were going okay today, and there was a great battle. I think I don't know, was it maybe 10 or 11 laps in? I can't remember exactly what it was, but Hamilton and Science were having a little bit of a ding dong. They were going back and forth around a couple of corners, and I think it was Crofty on the commentary saying, "Yeah, this is definitely looks like it's a bit personal for Carlos. You know, Hamilton was trying to take him, and he went a little bit deep in the corner, I think, and then he gained the position back, and they were kind of battling it out for, I think, a lap or so anyway. But yeah, Hamilton eventually got past him, and in the maneuver, I think it was Yuki then nabbed the spot as well. So he Sainz lost a couple of places in those couple of laps, but there was a nice bit of racing going on there between himself and Hamilton and Yuki. I was like, okay, this is starting to hot up. But yeah, I think he lost a little bit of pace after that. He had the incident with Tsunoda, and then later on, which the debris kind of brought out the safety car, and then I think he had a clash after that again with I think it was Antonelli, which caused a big hole in the side pod. And yeah, I think it was James Vile was coming over the radio. He was like, "Yeah, come on in. We can't race with this big hole in the side of the car. It's getting dangerous." So yeah, his day just kind of went downhill from the moment he started battling with Hamilton. So, but he was trying hard, and yeah, in that midfield area, it's going to be tight. It's going to be packed. You're going to have these little incidents like this where you can, get your wing clipped off or whatever it might be. So it's a little bit of a different season for him versus Ferrari, where he's used to being more at the top of the pack, where sometimes you can just get out and you have a little cushion either side of you. So yeah, it's a bit of a change for him. Albon, yeah, he was going okay. He was maybe a little bit anonymous at times, and I think he finished just outside the points, maybe P12 or something. But yeah, he was consistent enough throughout the weekend. So yeah, I think it would have been nice for Sainz to finish as well. He might have got in the top 10, but yeah, that partnership is slowly but surely coming together. And again, that's going to be a good one to watch out for, that battle with Haas, because they're both in that kind of same points area at the moment with the constructors championship. But yeah, I think Sainz will be a little bit disappointed, but yeah, overall not a bad weekend for Williams overall.
Yeah, and I'm sure Albon would be. He was definitely probably hoping to get into the points there this weekend. But of course, look, what we'll do is real quick. We'll just quickly mention Red Bull. Isidro, walk me through Red Bull. What happened with that entire thing that happened there? And I also mentioned it as well. Like I know Damien kind of touched on the fact that Tsunoda had that incident there with Williams. It's kind of interesting to see there that he didn't really drop off in performance and still coming back to really fight for positions. But Isidro, run me through Red Bull. What is going on? What happened there today?
Today was just an example of the whole weekend. Lots of issues. Max complaining about the car the whole weekend, and today in the race, he was on about from the brakes to the tires. But that's all he could do. I mean, he managed to finish P6, but it's far from the performance we saw in Suzuka. So that Suzuka was probably just a fluke. Red Bull needs to step up their game if they want to fight for the Constructors' Championship. But might be already too late, because McLaren is already in the 3 digits, very far away from everyone else. And Max can only do so much. I mean, last year the car was bad, and he managed to squeeze as much as he could. But this year, I mean, the man can only do so much when the car is as bad as he's been complaining about. And then to add insult to injury, they bring Tsunoda to the second seat, which brings more pressure on the Red Bull and more pressure on Tsunoda itself. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done for Red Bull.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And I think obviously with the issues that they're experiencing, and still to see Tsunoda being able to come back there and still get into the points again, if he still manages to do that over the next several races, I think again, that just sort of proves that he is the rightful the rightful heir to that throne, the Red Bull second seat. And who knows, maybe he might eventually break that curse, and he might be able to keep that going forward. But yeah, Damien, as well, one thing I want to quickly touch on there, if you have any friends in the tech industry over in California or in Texas or wherever that could possibly help out with all the tech issues that were going on with Red Bull, the actual timing charts and sheets and everything that we were experiencing there, but especially for Red Bull, those release lights not working in the pits. What was going on there? Like, I mean, that was just ridiculous. Both drivers, Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda, coming in there and just, it all just went to pot. Damien, have you got any mates that can help them out?
They were having connectivity issues everywhere. It's my diagnosis. Yeah. So we had the Red Bull pits release lights for 2 pit stops. Were on the blink, and you had the timing boards going down. You had the transponder of Russell's car was only picking up the start finish line. I think you couldn't get any sector time, so you could see he was bouncing up and down the timing wall at the side from 9th to 2nd. Everyone's going, what the hell's going on with Russell? So yeah, I think there was overall gremlins in the IT systems in Bahrain this weekend. So yeah, the IT support guys were having a little bit of a bad weekend. I think they were getting some very bad phone calls and having to deal with these issues. But yeah, for all of those things to happen in one weekend, there's obviously something major going on there. But who knows? We'll find out eventually what happened there. But yeah, not a good weekend to be an IT support guy in Bahrain.
Yeah, there definitely was a lot of bugs going on there, and especially at one stage, George Russell, we didn't even see him on the boards. He went from P2, and then I think Martin Brundle was like, he's dropping down the grid. He's down to P20. What? He's down to P20 now. There was loads of things going on there with the old bugs were in the systems. But yeah, guys, run me through the rest of the race as well. Of course, look, we had a couple of teams we didn't touch on there. Aston Martin, of course, we did mention Haas, but of course, we do have to mention that Aston Martin were just kind of non-existent. Again, they had an average pace there, P17, P18, and finishing in P16 and P18. I mean, again, we've mentioned it last week or the week before, going into next year, Honda engines coming to Aston Martin. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like even at one point, Alonso was just kind of like, yep, that's all I could give. Like what's happening there, guys?
It's like Aston Martin doesn't care about this year race, and they are just focused on 2026, which makes no sense. But if that's their strategy for this year, then that's it. Because at the moment, Aston Martin is side by side with Stake. I mean, I know Stroll have 10 points at the moment, but I'm not surprised if he's finished the championship with the same amount of points right now, which is 10. And Alonso, I mean, if this is the end of his career, it'll be a sad one.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a bad way to finish his career if that is it. Like they were just anonymous this weekend again. Like I can't remember seeing the car on screen that often, to be honest. And they were just, they were nowhere to be seen. They were not even in any battles trying to get up into the points. It was just, going around in circles. So again, if this is going to be their season, they might as well just pull out now and save the fuel and save the flights, save all those expenses and hotels, and just, forget about it, lads. Stay home.
Yeah, and I'm sure Adrian Newey is looking at these races and kind of going, should I have done this? Am I ready for a couple of years of this?
Save the carbon footprint,
Exactly. Doing their part for the environment. But to wrap up the rest of the teams as well, of course, we did mention Haas. They had a lot of great pace there in the race as well. Obviously, finishing strong there with P8 and P10, picking up more points again for the team. As I said, it's great to see them there. P5 at the moment in the constructors. Again, such a crazy statement to say, for a team that was struggling for many, many years, and now obviously they're definitely performing very well. So it was great to see Haas doing well. But Alpine and Ferrari, those are sort of the last couple of teams that we do need to mention. But real quick, guys, run me through Alpine, and if you want to, we can combine Ferrari into that as well. Isidro, take it away.
Alpine had a very good weekend. The P4 from Gasly Even though he finished P7, it's still very good considering Alpine has not been exactly the quickest car on the track, and they have a rookie in the second seat, so they can't expect Doohan to start performing after just 4 races, and it's his first seat. And I'm surprised that Ferrari today actually they got their strategy right. They managed not to screw up Charles Leclerc race or Hamilton. Leclerc had issues to deal with the DRS, but I don't think we can blame Ferrari completely for this weekend. I think they learned a few things, and this weekend I think Ferrari was okay. I mean, Leclerc started P2 and finished P4, and to be fair, he did a very good defense against Norris. Without DRS, he managed to fight Norris as much as he could, and I mean, that's all you can ask.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
We give the Ferrari strategy team the clown show or the clown college. We give them a lot of stick when they get it wrong, but to back that up, if they get it really right, then you have to give them the kudos as well. And yet today or this weekend, they got it really right on strategy. And I think that kind of showed with the starting on the medium and then going to the medium for the second stint as well, really proved. But as you could see that Leclerc, they were talking about strategy and, I want to go plan Delta, I think he was saying, which seemed to be the hard tire. And the race, he was like, no, we're sticking with Bravo, sticking with it. And he insisted a couple of times, like, no, I think we should go Delta. And he was like, no, you're coming in, you're getting mediums. And that was kind of good management. I think they had more information and more data on it. And I think that proved to be I suppose the best strategy to go with. And they were picking up a lot of time through that second stint. But at the same time, then it came to I think it was under the safety car when Hamilton came in, they put hards on when the data was showing that the hards weren't really worth much this weekend because Verstappen had come in and got rid of the hards after I think 10 laps or something because it just wasn't working. And then you could hear Hamilton then a few laps later going, yeah, this tire sucks, like why did we do this? So but I think with the lighter fuel load it kind of worked out not too bad. It seemed to be just okay, but again they had to change to some other tire because they'd gone 2 mediums in a row. So but yeah, overall Ferrari did very well in the strategy. And yeah, it paid off. I think 20 something points, 22 points for the 2 drivers. So yeah, looking good. They're getting a little bit of pace out of that car now. And I think the Leclerc Hamilton relationship is still building. I think there's still a little bit of niggle there between the two. That's going to be an evolving story over the season. But yeah, overall a great weekend for them. And yeah, fair play to Ferrari. They got the strategy nailed at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And as the strategists like to say, or as the pit crew like to say, we are checking, and they definitely checked this weekend because Leclerc and Hamilton coming in there at P4 and P5. So to wrap up the top 10, instead of going through all 20 drivers, we'll go through the top 10 of the results of the race. So we had McLaren there, Piastri coming in P1, Russell P2, we had Norris in P3. As I mentioned, Leclerc and Hamilton bringing in that P4 and P5. For Verstappen, unfortunately for Red Bull this weekend, if you're a Red Bull fan, I know it was probably difficult to watch, but coming in there at P6, still making up some points in that difficult car that he had. But then Gasly coming in there at P7, with Ocon coming in at P8, Tsunoda picking up points for the weekend, coming in at P9. And then finally, to wrap up the top 10, we had our lovely Oliver Bearman coming in there with Haas and P10. So that was definitely great to see Oliver Bearman coming in there at P10. But that brings us on to our next segment, which is our driver of the day and our dick of the day. So, Damien, who is your driver of the day and who is your dick of the day?
Well, I think it's an easy one for driver of the day, right? It has to be Piastri. He was, brilliant from beginning to end the whole weekend. There's some other good shouts out there, but yeah, you have to give it to Piastri. He was just brilliant. The likes of Bearman and Ocon in particular. Ocon would have been another good choice, but yeah, it has to be Piastri. Yeah.
And who is your dick of the day?
It was a tough one because there wasn't really anybody who was too naughty, but I think I picked Carlos Sainz. He had a couple of scrapes. He was getting a little bit aggressive at times, which I like. But yeah, I had to pick someone, so let's go with Carlos on that one.
Oh, poor Carlos. He's not catching a break there this weekend. Getting the DNF and a dick of the day from Damien all the way here at the late night race review. He's definitely having a tough one. Isidro, who is your driver of the day and your dick of the day?
Well, it'll be easier to say that Piastri is driver of the day, but for me, I think Berman deserves to be driver of the day.
Okay.
From P20 to P10, driving a Haas, I think, Oscar is driving a McLaren. He start pole, he control the race. It's a McLaren. So it's not easy, but it's more trickier to drive a Haas from the P20 to the P10. So for me, outside driver today would be Oliver Behrman.
Oliver Behrman. And then who would be your dick of the day and loser of the day?
The loser of the day would be the Williams team. Not only they got penalized on the qualification, well, Albon got penalized. Sainz get the car damaged, so there's an expense they were not expecting. So for me, Williams team will be the loser of the day. And the dick of the day would be the guy in charge of the live video transmission, because Piastri crossed the finish line and all we see is a little rectangle. And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is finishing first and all we got is just a little stamp on the screen. And we are seeing Russell and Norris fighting for P2, P3. I mean, that's a dick move.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more there. That was that was very, very frustrating. And also as well, Damien, who was your loser of the day?
I think it's a double award. It has to go to Red Bull pit crew. They had two awful pit stops. They got a stuck tire, I think, for Max, something similar for Yuki, and then they had the light issues with the release. So yeah, they lost quite a bit of time there. And the IT support team at the Bahrain circuit, they're going to have a bad evening trying to mop up and find what those issues are. So
yeah, they definitely had a bad weekend. For me anyway, though, my driver of the day, I know we've mentioned it already, definitely Piastri. I just feel, look, he controlled that race from start to finish. I have to give it to him. I would have loved to have given it to Tsunoda because, again, look, I'm really happy that I got into the points, but I have to give it to Piastri. He definitely got that for me anyway. And then, to be honest, my dick of the day, look, we all know it already. Liam Lawson, King Dick, all the way, getting it again there because, look, he's Liam Lawson and sure, who cares? But anyway, hopefully I never meet that guy someday because it'll be an awkward conversation. But I think also as well, Isidro, I have to agree with you on that one. Loser of the day, I'm probably going to go with the same one there. That guy controlling the leaderboards just to give Oscar Piastri that tiny little rectangle when every other driver gets a full screen moment with, fireworks and everything going off. That was definitely loser of the day. And do you know what? I'm also going to give him the dick of the day. Loads of dicks going around here. So there you go. But folks, that brings us on to our final segment of the episode, which is our race predictions. So for Bahrain, and as per usual, we got the predictions there from Dave and Scotty. So, and I'm actually not going to call him Scotty. I'm going to call him Owen because it's weird calling him Scotty. So I'm going to go with Dave and Owen first. So Dave had Norris P1, Piastri P2, and Russell in P3. Unfortunate. They all did end up on the podium, but just not in that particular order. So unfortunately, that is a 0 for those. But Behrman outside the top 10 was his flop. So that's unfortunate, that's another 0. But Yuki inside the top 10. That's definitely... Yeah, that's definitely paid off for a lot of people this weekend. Finally, the weekend where we actually wanted him to finish inside the top 10 and he actually does it. Couldn't have done that in Japan, no, Yuki? Okay. But anyway, moving on to Owen. He had Piastri in P1, so he got that lovely point there. Lando in P2. Unfortunately, he came in P3. And then Verstappen in P3. And unfortunately, Verstappen finished in P6. And then Behrman outside the top 10. Unfortunately, he did finish inside the top 10. That was his flop. And then also his surprise was Yuki inside the top 10. So there you go. He got...
so much. That will be... you'll be happy about that.
Yeah. That's it. I think next week we'll probably all do the same. Yuki inside the top 10. Yuki inside the top 10. And then Isidro, run me through your predictions for Bahrain.
I got Norris P1, Piastri P2, and Verstappen P3. Nothing happened. And then I got Adjar outside top 10. That happened. And
There
I
we
was
go.
expecting Sainz after seeing the qualification. I was expecting Sainz to finish inside top 10, but didn't happen.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, and I think I was the same as well. I was kind of predicting that he would, and for one moment there, I was kind of like, when it came to qualifying, I was like, yes, finally, I am going to get a point this weekend. But unfortunately, he kind of shafted both of us, Isidro, this weekend, because unfortunately my surprise was Sainz inside the top 10, so I definitely got a 0 point for that. But for my top 3, I had Norris in P1. Never again am I doing that. Verstappen in P2 and Leclerc in P3. And for one moment there, I actually thought when Leclerc was coming back, he actually would have got that P3. And then also as well, I did manage to get 1 point, and that was Albon outside the top 10. Go on, Albon. Thank you so much. And Damien, what were your predictions there?
I had Norris P1, which obviously didn't happen. Verstappen P2 and Piastri P3. So I got things a little bit back to front. And then for my flop, I had Albon outside the top 10, which came through, and Yuki inside the top 10. You delivered the goods. So I think 2 points overall there.
That's it. Yeah, 2 points there for Damien and 2 points for Owen. So unfortunately, myself, Isidro, and Dave only walked out of this weekend with 1 point. But that brings us on to next weekend, which is going to be the lovely Jeddah, one of my favorite circuits on the calendar. I love the high-speed turns. I just love how complicated this track is. But we have our predictions in from Dave and Owen. So Dave has predicted that Norris will come in P1, Piastri P2, and Hamilton in P3. And then his flop will be Behrman outside the top 10. And his surprise will be Antonelli inside the top 10. Owen has predicted that Piastri, Norris, and Leclerc will finish in P1, P2, and P3. His flop will be Behrman outside or inside the bottom 10. I'm going to go bottom 10. I'm going to say maybe outside top 10. So there we go. I think that's what he means by that. And then Antonelli is his surprise to finish inside the top 10. Isidro, what are your predictions for next weekend?
Very similar. Norris P1, Piastri P2, and Russell P3.
Oh, very
and
nice.
Then for the flop, I have Berman outside top 10 and Antonelli inside top 10. This is just to be safe. See if I get 2 points from here.
Very, very nice. Hopefully that does happen. My own predictions, though, I think I'm going to go and I'm putting all of my eggs into the Piastri basket. So there you go, Oscar Piastri. Enjoy my eggs. So Piastri P1. For P2, I'm going to go with something completely random here. And I'm going to go Hamilton P2. And then for P3, I'm going to go Norris in P3. So that is my top 3 for that. And then my flop is going to be, so let me see here. Do you know what? I'm going to play this uber safe and I'm going to say Gasly is going to be my flop and he's going to be outside the top 10. I'm just playing it safe. I'm playing it safe. And then my surprise is Yuki inside the top 10.
No, you can't.
Oh, wait, that's true, actually, because he finished inside the top 10 already.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Right, who is going to bring it home for me this weekend? Let me have a quick look down through here. Yeah, do you know what? I think I'm going to play it safe as well. I'm going to go Antonelli.
Come on.
Antonelli inside the top 10. There we go. So Gasly outside and Antonelli inside. We're all going with the old Antonelli here. So don't disappoint, Antonelli. Bring it home for us. And Damien, finally, what are your predictions?
I've got Piastri 1, Russell 2, Leclerc 3.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, I feel Ferrari, they're starting to, mix it in there.
And that's when they start going down.
Exactly, yes. I'll get egg in my face on that one. And yeah, Russell going well. I think he's looking pretty strong. He's had podiums in every race, I think. But yeah, he's going well. And Piastri, yeah, you can't look too far past him at the moment, right? So for my flop, Gasly outside top 10. And for my surprise, I'm going to go Carlos Sainz inside the top 10. So going a little bit different from the obvious one there.
Okay. That is very, very interesting.
Can we have that? Because Sainz didn't finish the race.
Ooh. Oh. Isidro coming in there with the reverse Uno card.
Race.
Isidro is the FIA of the late night race review here this afternoon.
And you can't go with Hülkenberg because Hülkenberg got disqualified. So
that's true.
Okay. Where did let me see. Sainz finished 14th in Japan.
But the NF today, so it doesn't count.
Okay, thanks for that one. You need a point here, so I'm going to go Antonelli inside the top.
Well, hey, we're all copying each other this weekend. We're all playing it safe. We're all throwing our eggs into the Antonelli inside the top 10 basket. So come on, Antonelli, do us proud.
We all get 1 point or we'll all get 0.
Yeah, I'll give you that later on. Thanks.
But regardless of that, Saudi Arabia is yet to come next weekend. We don't know what's going to happen. Those are our predictions. But for now, though, anyway, when it comes to the points, we have Dave on 3 points. We've got Owen on 4. We have Isidro and also myself coming in there with 2 points. Isidro, we're still fighting the back of the grid there at the moment. And then finally, king of the grid, the Max Verstappen of this season, Damien, coming in there with 6 points. So he is leading the table for now.
Yeah, Cedro and Aiden sitting there in the Saubers at the moment.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or the Aston Martins just driving around for the crack, you know.
That's it. But yeah, look, we'll see what happens next weekend. And of course, yes, Saudi Arabia, that is going to be a very, very exciting race. It never fails when it comes to the action and all that kind of stuff. There's always expected to be some sort of safety car or crash or something to happen there because we know how narrow those lovely streets are. So yeah, definitely Saudi Arabia is going to be a good one. But before we do wrap things up, guys, anything else you want to quickly mention before we finish up? Anything else you want to special mentions or anything?
I don't think so. I think I'm all good.
Awesome. And Isidro?
Make sure that FIA pays attention next time in the qualification.
Yeah. So.
That's it. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for joining me here this afternoon. It was a pleasure to talk Formula One and Bahrain, one of my other favorite tracks on the calendar. I always love a Bahrain race. So thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. And for everyone listening, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Should be out here on Monday. But of course, please definitely make sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and support us wherever you are listening to today's podcast. But until then, and also as well, again, to Alex Dunn winning that lovely F2 race. Thank you so much for making Ireland proud. But until next weekend, we will see you all in Saudi Arabia. Adios.